Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Q&A video today. Now, you guys chucked in a bunch of community questions about Bitcoin, about altcoins, about the upcoming Bitcoin bull market, how it's going to look, how long it's going to last, when we're going to break upwards, what are we going to buy? All these questions are going to be answered today. I've got about 8 of them which I've heart reacted, which are the ones I'm going to be answering. And you can go down to the comments down below, the pinned comment or the description, and you'll see the timestamps. So which questions I answer and at what point of the video I answer them in. Before we do that though, just one quick little mention here. I'll mention the weekly candle close. It's closing in 15 hours and we have the bull market support band, as you can see, which we are hovering above right now. As I have mentioned previously on this YouTube channel, I want to be seeing Bitcoin close the weekly candle above 61.4K, which is above where the bull market support band currently sits. If we do that, that's a good weekly candle close. Anything above that is even better, and that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow. So 15 hours, fingers crossed with that weekly. We'll discuss what happens there tomorrow. But today, let's get into these community questions. I assure you they're going to be very, very interesting. Before we do that, just one thing I'll mention is the Bitfinex exchange. Guys, if you want an exchange with hundreds of trading pairs, you want an exchange that is global non-KYC that you can sign up from anywhere in the world with, you want an exchange that's never been hacked before and has reserves publicly viewable in case they are hacked, you can get reimbursed on your funds. You can check out this exchange right here with my referral link down below and get that 15% trading fee discount on every single buy and sell you make exclusively for signing up with my link. So 15% trading fee discount with my link, as well as access to $5,500 in rewards for signing up. Check out my links down below and sign up. Takes 15 seconds. Go ahead and do that if you're interested. If not, that's all good. Let's get into the video. 2 questions coming from Yeshua here. What's the absolute longest we can chop in this consolidation channel? So what's the absolute longest we can consolidate for without breaking out? Let's go ahead and answer that. So first and foremost, it's very important to understand why this consolidation is happening and why it's lasting so long. This is, in fact, probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest consolidation phases in Bitcoin's entire lifespan. And the simple explanation I can give you for why it's occurring, the most likely explanation is simply we moved upwards way too quickly, way too soon, right? And now we are consolidating to get back on track with where we are meant to be. You need to understand how Bitcoin moves, okay? Every single Bitcoin movement since 2012 has been acting within the umbrella trend, which is the 4-year cycle. Here it is on the screen. You can see multiple color-coded writings, color-coded to the date range measurements, and hence you can see many different date range trends within the larger cycle triggered by the first halving. Every movement we see is connected on a date range scale, not actually on a price range scale, just on a date range scale. So it's very, very important when Bitcoin moves certain places, because if you see a move too fast too soon, you're dramatically throwing off the date range scale. That's exactly what happened this year, most likely at least. And we don't know yet for sure, but that's probably what we're looking at if we're going to talk about the bull case. And right now we have a situation where, historically speaking, it's taken Bitcoin about 1,100 days to go from all-time high to breaching that all-time high. In this cycle, it took only 850 days, meaning we were about 250 days ahead of schedule. And we were meant to break all-time highs as per 4-year cycle around November. So we're in October now. We're a little bit ahead of schedule still, but around November, we start to, be able to get into the region in which we're meant to be breaking all-time highs again. Now, if we're adding a 30-day margin for error on either side, we could break all-time highs, and be within the 4-year cycle in a state of validness or validity anywhere from this month in October to, let's say, mid to late December. So in my view, if we're talking cyclically speaking, any time between now and late December would be a very perfect, adequate, very expected and normal place to break all-time highs in. So if we see the consolidation last any longer than that, it starts getting very, very confusing, like what's going on at that point. And if we look at the lines, critical lines, like these yellow lines on the screen right now, these lines that stem backwards in some cases all the way from 2018, we can actually make some sort of compression structure. So this line specifically, let's delete everything else. Let's look at this yellow line specifically here, the most conservative yellow line, and let's compress that against the top of the channel formation. You're going to see a period of time here where Bitcoin's either going to be breaking that yellow line and hence breaking downwards, or breaking above the channel due to the fact that the yellow line's compressing so heavily against the top of it. And we'd have to make a move, and that would be around the start or the middle of next year. So if it's not for the 4-year cycle, we could realistically consolidate for many, many months on end. And given the fact that it's a channel formation, it's actually very hard inherently to tell how long you're going to see consolidation for, because there's no compression within a channel within itself. But for me personally, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking cyclically still, because the bull case, in my opinion, is still a cyclical bull case. It's still the 4-year cycle. So I would say any time, if we flip the clock forward to January and we're still consolidating, that to me is just absolutely ludicrous. Like, I would not even know what's going on at that point. For me personally, breakout's going to be occurring either this month or next month, or maybe December. But even that would be really pushing the bounds of what is normal. So not much longer to wait. We're still a little bit ahead of schedule, but even breaking out right now would not be that ridiculous at all, especially considering the good price action we're seeing right here at the top of the center line. It's good to see overall. And the second question he asked, I can just answer just off the cuff here. Can you see a scenario where there is a mild Bitcoin bull run without an altcoin season? Not really. I mean, that's not what we've seen historically speaking. Bull runs, when we talk about a Bitcoin bull run, we talk about a Bitcoin bull run within a 4-year cycle. I mean, that is almost synonymous with altcoin season, because if you see a bull run, you're seeing greed, you're seeing a parabolic phase, you're seeing euphoria. And if there's euphoria, greed, and a parabolic phase, there's absolutely no reason why people would be predominantly investing in Bitcoin. They're getting greedy. They're shifting their money from Bitcoin to altcoins, looking for higher returns. In my view, no bull run that is coherent with anything we've ever seen before would entail no altcoin season. A bull run, traditionally, and an altcoin season are hand in hand. Now, we could see something entirely new, but at that point, there's no point in me even talking on it, because I'd just be brainlessly saying words with no data to back it up. So if there is a bull run, if Bitcoin does break all-time highs, if Bitcoin does enter an extended phase, just like the 4-year cycle has suggested previously speaking, there will be almost certainly an altcoin season based on historical data. And again, if we see something entirely new, I can't speak on that because we haven't seen it yet. Do you feel like sentiment is swinging so much more than previous cycles? Everyone screams and cheers at a 5% Bitcoin increase, and then everyone is in tears when Bitcoin decreases 5%. Can you remember this in previous cycles? No, I can't. Now, obviously, emotions are generally high in bull markets to begin with, but this cycle particularly is very abnormal. And it's abnormal because what we've explained before and what everyone's very, very well aware of by now, the extensive move to the upside, getting people's hopes very, very, very high. ETFs, getting people's hopes very, very high. Everyone was screaming 300K, 200K when ETFs came out. And we saw one more rally and then stagnation for the longest consolidation period Bitcoin has ever seen. And during this period, people have been getting very antsy, specifically on this drop downwards right here. Massive drop in a matter of less than 2 weeks from 69K all the way down to 49K. Bitcoin decreasing in price roughly 30%. Altcoins going downwards 50%, 60% in some cases, and pretty much 45% on average if we're talking about the total three. There's very good reason why people have been very jumpy within this consolidation, because people are aware that this consolidation is abnormal. We've never seen a consolidation like this before. And so, everyone's thinking, it's just like when you're playing roulette, right? And red comes up 7 times in a row, and then people start betting heavily on black. It's like, oh, look, we've been consolidating. Surely on this move, we're going to break out. Surely on this move, we're going to break down. Surely on this move, we're going to break up. People start getting heavily invested in narratives, and they don't actually wait for the actual confirmation. They get heavily invested into the market too early, and they get wrecked, right? This is why I've been very adamant in my stance. Ever since this big drop right here, I said very clearly, that was almost 2 months ago now, over 2 months ago. I've been very, very clear. I don't care what you say. I'm not touching this market in any major way until there is clear confirmation, because this price action is not rational, cyclically speaking, okay? Now, look, you could make an argument it's rational because it's consolidating for so long in order to get back to where we're meant to be. Therefore, it's irrational, but it's also rational at the same time, right? It's trying to reconnect to rationality through irrationality. And yeah, that's a nuanced argument you can make, and I agree with it to some extent. But if you're zooming up on the daily chart, you're zooming up on the 4-hourly chart, this price action is untradeable, and there's no reason to even really try. So yes, I do think this is a more emotional cycle so far, just because it's less predictable, right? We've seen things we've never seen before. Why is the time aspect of Bitcoin's bull markets, I assume he means, so important? Like, why does it matter when we reach all-time highs much quicker than previous cycles? Is it because whales who want to accumulate more didn't accumulate as much as they wanted to, so they can manipulate the price? Nothing to do with whales. The reason it matters is predictability, okay? In order to make money in a market, and I speak on this often, you need predictability. It doesn't matter if the price skyrockets or dumps or crashes. If you're not actually in a position, you don't make money. So, you know, the price can go up all at once, but if you're not in a position, you don't make money. And the only way you can justify entering a position, provided you're not a gambler, is through evidence. And evidence comes from historical data. Evidence is related to predictability. So it doesn't matter where the price goes. Look, Bitcoin could go to $200,000 tomorrow, right? If we don't have the evidence through historical data to be able to predict that happening, we're not in a position, okay? We're not in a trade. We don't make money from it, okay? So the timing matters because we understand that Bitcoin's entire cyclical nature is based on dates, not price. We understand there are a certain amount of days between this and this, certain amount of days between bottoms and bottoms, tops and tops, bottoms and tops, halvings and bottoms. We know this from a date range perspective. So when we start consolidating for long periods of time or doing things abnormally on a time-based perspective, we start seeing distortions in predictability, and hence we stop being able to make money from the market. So predictability is very important. And that's why I was condemning people when ETFs came out. When ETFs were coming out at the start of this year, and people were, you know, celebrating and cheering and marching bloody parades in the middle of the streets because of it. I was sitting there saying, you guys are stupid, right? This is bad because it's going to distort the predictability of Bitcoin. Predictability matters more than the price skyrocketing. That's why the dates matter. Now, question one I've already answered, and that was, do you think it's possible that altcoin season just doesn't happen this cycle, even if Bitcoin goes upwards? I've already answered that. I don't think it's possible. Altcoin season happens with Bitcoin bull markets from a traditional bull market perspective. Let's move on to question two. And let me say this right now, ChatGPT can answer this question better than I can. His question is, what do you think Bitcoin's natural price limit is? Given enough time, everyone in the world who would be predisposed to buying Bitcoin would have already bought in. Could you say we've already hit that limit? We certainly haven't hit that limit at all. I will say that very confidently. Okay, most people, even in Western countries, have not even touched cryptocurrency before. I think it's something like 23% in a survey we did in 2022. That you know was a pretty large spanning survey. I mean, you can find the data yourself. About a quarter of people in the West, right, who are eligible, who are of age, have even thought about buying cryptocurrency, let alone bought it in major quantities. So we've certainly not reached the natural limit. That's for sure. But then you also need to consider things like inflation, right? What does a US dollar even mean, right? Why would we be measuring that in US dollars at that point? You know, because it's not consistent, it's not a hard value. So there's different problems. Another problem is liquidity. It's like, okay, yes, okay, the market cap is a certain amount. Let's just say the market cap is 1 trillion, but that doesn't mean we can actually get $1 trillion out of the market. And when someone's buying $1,000 of Bitcoin, if the market cap was 100,000 versus if the market cap was 1 trillion, it's going to have massively different increases in price, right? Liquidity matters as well. So it's very difficult to act, like it's almost impossible basically to guess what a natural price limit for Bitcoin would be given enough time if everyone who is predisposed to buying would buy. Because first and foremost, how do we know how many people would be predisposed to buying? Do we know the circumstances? Is there a collapse of nations? So there's so many problems with this. But if you just, you know, and this is why I'm just, you know, referring it over to ChatGPT basically. ChatGPT says it could be as much as 5 million per BTC. It also says conservative estimate in you know 5 to 10 years. It was estimating 200,000 to 500,000. Again, I don't know how trustworthy this is. It depends on way too many factors to be even remotely confident in an answer. I think your best bet is to not think about this. If you believe in the fundamentals of Bitcoin, okay, I don't even suggest long-term holding in that scenario. I'm not a long-term holder. I don't long-term hold cryptocurrency. Okay, I cyclically trade cryptocurrency, and that's what I suggest doing. And there's reasons for that, but this is a trading channel, not necessarily a holding channel. But if you are going to long-term hold something in crypto, it's obviously going to be Bitcoin. It's the only thing I can even justify even thinking about long-term holding. But even then, if I know the cycles, and if the cycle is still intact, and as long as the cycle remains intact, for me, there's just no reason to ever long-term hold. So that was like a half answer, but I thought it was interesting regardless. It's also the first time I've used ChatGPT on this channel, which is quite funny, I guess. And it wasn't very helpful. What's your strategy for taking profits going to be like, considering we follow the 4-year cycle perfectly? Do you DCA out? Do you have some indicators? And when they hit, you pull out immediately? How did you do it last cycle? Well, I answered that in a few different ways here. Now, there's multiple different ways we can, you know, go about selling what we think is the top in a Bitcoin bull market. Now, with altcoins is slightly different. With altcoins, I would suggest personally something more of a DCA strategy. But overall, okay, if we're talking about indicators, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about indicators first, and then we're going to talk about structural breakdowns. Because I'm not really one for selling tops, because I don't believe you know what the top is until you see the structural breakdown. You need macro confirmation to justify making macro decisions, especially when we're not relying on 4-year cycle. Now, if we are relying on 4-year cycle, all you need to do is look at when the 4-year cycle says the top will be, okay? And whenever you see any weakness around that time, you get the hell out. That's what we did last cycle. That's how we traded it last cycle. So in last cycle, we were able to sell publicly on this YouTube channel. Go back and check it. I've actually made a track record video on my homepage. We were able to sell the top within 48 hours of occurring, okay? We sold the top at ridiculously high prices, like 63 or 66K. I can't even remember. It was years ago now. But within 48 hours, we were able to sell the top publicly, okay? And the reason we were able to do that is because we saw weakness on the chart. We saw bearish divergence on the daily chart with RSI as well. And we knew that altcoins looked toppy, and we knew that the 4-year cycle said we were going to top around that time. That's how we sold the top last cycle. Now, if we can do that again, that's excellent. If the 4-year cycle works again, cool. Okay, if we get to October next year and we start seeing bearish divergences, we start seeing volume decreasing in the upwards trend, we start seeing altcoins starting to top out everywhere, then we can just get out without, regard for macro. But if we don't have that level of evidence, we can refer to some alternative sources. So we can refer to something like the Bitcoin monthly chart RSI, very strong resistance line, historically speaking, has led to the top on a lot of occasions. If we touch that again, that's a region in which you need to start taking profits, DCAing out, getting cautious. Another thing is Bitcoin power law, okay? A very unique chart, not many people look at it. It's basically a logarithmic chart with these, they're not quite parallel, they're slightly inverting towards each other. I'm not sure what you call those lines. Slipped off the top of my head there. But yeah, essentially when we get to the purple line, historically speaking, or when we get close to the purple line, historically speaking, it didn't work in 2021, but it could work this time because we've seen the validation of the green line rejection working. So perhaps we're reconnecting. Then yeah, you consider getting out of the market, or maybe even if we come up to the green line, okay, you consider getting out of the market because that's what we know works, even ignoring the invalidation of 2021. There's many different methods we can use, and we'll discuss them all if we get to that point. But the main thing you can use, okay, and this is the most conservative approach you can take. And yes, it's not going to lead to you marking the exact top, but it's going to lead you getting a very high probability of success, is waiting for a structural breakdown. So don't try and sell the top, try and sell the structural breakdown. If we take what we're seeing now, for example, so say, for example, you have heaps of Bitcoin right now. You wouldn't try and sell here. You would sell when the channel itself broke down, because then you'd have full confirmation that, okay, this entire structure is screwed. I need to get out before it collapses completely. That's the very conservative way to get out of the market when all other methods fail, when the 4-year cycle fails, when all the indicators fail. You can just wait for a structural breakdown in the same way we did for our buying of the bottom. Now, when we bought the bottom, we knew the bottom was around here somewhere because we knew the 4-year cycle was taking place, but I wasn't sure exactly where it would be. So what I suggested people do is wait for 18.5K to be flipped before buying. So we knew this was probably the bottom, and we bought 25% here, just in case it was. But I waited publicly on this YouTube channel for the rest of my buying, 75%, for this level to flip, because that was the structural break upwards, right? Confirming that that was the bottom. So you can wait for structural flips, breakdowns, break upwards, depending on whether you're trying to sell a top or buy a bottom. That's always the most conservative and tried and true method. But if you're looking for alternative methods, 4-year cycle is a good one, and other indicators as well you can look to. But I don't necessarily recommend DCAing randomly. Okay, I'm not this person. A lot of people just say, oh yeah, just take profit randomly here and there along the way. No. You actually want to be doing TA. You take profits at major resistance zones. You don't just randomly take profit. You take profit once we reach a major resistance level, right? That's when you DCA. So DCAing isn't just blindly not looking at the chart and cutting profits or buying. It's looking at the chart, seeing where the resistance is, and DCAing based on resistance, or buying based on support, not just blindly buying, right? I think that's a stupid strategy. Quite frankly, I think it's lazy. Which altcoins are you buying? Well, I'm not buying altcoins right now. And the reason being is because we're not actually breaking upwards yet. Bitcoin is still in a consolidation structure. It hasn't seen a macro breakout. There's no parabolic bull market going on right now. I can tell you that for sure. 7 months of consolidation is not part of a parabolic bull market. When we break all-time highs on Bitcoin, and more importantly, when Bitcoin dominance, when Bitcoin dominance breaks down, which is the only thing you should be looking at, really, when you're talking about altcoins. If you want to buy altcoins, you need to buy in an altcoin season. Yes, you're going to have exceptions. Yes, there's probably a bunch of coins you can mention that are outperforming Bitcoin right now. But the objective reality shown by this chart is that on a generalized scale, Bitcoin has been outperforming altcoins for about 2 years. Since January 2022, Bitcoin has been outperforming altcoins. That's why Bitcoin dominance has gone upwards. So on a generalized scale, ignoring specific examples, because exceptions don't make the rule, if you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, you'd be in a better place than if you bought an altcoin. And so this is not an optimal market environment to be touching altcoins within. Now, when we see Bitcoin dominance reverse, when we see Bitcoin dominance go downwards and Bitcoin skyrocket and Ethereum BTC bounce heavily, that's when you can start buying altcoins, because then you see that altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. Then you see the market environment is tilted to favor altcoin buying, right? It means you have a higher probability of success when you're buying altcoins. That doesn't mean you can't buy altcoins now. You can certainly. It just means that any altcoin you buy now, you are inherently trading against the market. If we're talking about being macro traders, if we're talking about using evidence-based trading, evidence-based investing, we need to trade with the market, not against it. And for that reason, waiting for an altcoin season to buy altcoins is, generally speaking, the way to go, or at least waiting for early inclinations of an altcoin season. So no, I'm not touching altcoins right now. I don't have an interest in it whatsoever. And if you didn't learn that lesson from the drop we saw back here, in August, quite frankly, I don't know what's going to teach you. Now, guys, thank you. There was a couple of questions there, a few questions really, that I missed, that I did not answer. Now, most of the ones that I did not answer were answered, or at least vaguely answered, in the ones I did answer. So I've answered these questions very strategically, and some of the ones that I did not answer, I just don't think I have a good answer to, or not an interesting answer for a lot of people watching this, or and it's something that I've talked about extensively already, and I just don't feel the need to repeat again. So that's kind of my quick Q&A, my answers to your questions there. If you really want an answer to a question I missed, go ahead and put it down below and I'll try answer it. But I just, for various reasons, I didn't include them strategically. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Go ahead and check out the Bitcoin exchange. If you appreciated the video, if you appreciate the work I put into this YouTube channel, and if you just want a good exchange, you can check it out. 15% trading fee with my link down below. 15% trading fee discount for life, I should say, on every single buy and sell you make. As well as 5,500 USDT in bonuses, obviously with terms and conditions, for signing up with my link. Both of those things you can get them, and you're getting a great exchange. Never been hacked before, very low in trading fees, everything you need, it's all there. Links down below to sign up. Check out as well the VIP group. This might be of interest to a lot of people here. If you want to trade altcoins with me on Telegram, I post altcoin trading signals. I do it 4 times a week. I give you a video with my entry targets, my stop losses, my take profit targets, everything you need to trade a coin 4 times a week on Telegram, as well as getting access to a group chat with 115 other VIP members, 127 actually. I don't know why I said 115. If you're interested in that, check it out. It's on Telegram. And the last thing I'll mention, guys, is the Crypto Academy Become a Trader 10-unit course, which is on sale right now. If you want to learn how to trade, if you want to become a trader like myself and analyze charts like myself, you can do so on the course I developed in 2022 with a fellow YouTuber named Mega Whale Crypto. We made this ourselves. We operated ourselves. It's on sale right now, so check it out. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you tomorrow.